Hi, and welcome to Becoming Astrology. I'm your host and astrologer, Heather. Today we're going to be talking about the astrology for the week of May 10th to May 16th, 2026. To get started, I want to talk a little bit about void moons because we keep having a lot of long void moons, and I do talk about those time periods during the week. So if you have not heard of a void moon before, it basically means that the moon isn't working, and maybe we shouldn't be either. What happens is that when the moon enters a sign, it will make a series of what we call Ptolemaic aspects to the major planets in the solar system. So when I say Ptolemaic aspects, I'm talking about a conjunction, a sextile, a square, a trine, and an opposition. And when I say the major planets, I mean the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. So if when the moon is in a sign and it makes its final Ptolemaic aspect to one of the main planets, the moon goes void after that last aspect. And it means that the moon, it's going to remain in that sign until it gets into the next one. But for the rest of that time period, it is a void of course moon, or the moon is void. And in the astrology community, we say that, at that time, the moon has stopped working in that sign. The moon will still make aspects to other planetary bodies during that time period if they are to be made, usually much smaller aspects like a quintile or a biquintile, a sesquiquadrate. And we don't consider those to be part of the Ptolemaic aspects. So the moon can still do things, but it's not working quite so hard. So what does that mean for you? It means that you shouldn't be working that hard either, which is great. It's nice to have these kind of rest periods. And I think that, we're getting a lot of void moons right now because we need a lot of rest. A lot of the aspects that we're going through are somewhat difficult, and they require a lot of reflection and imagination and daydreaming and just time to nap and let things process. So, of course, void moons happen during our work days, and we can't just stop working because the moon stopped working. But it can mean that we can change our efforts. So, if you own a company where you make appointments with people and they come to see you or you go to see them, go ahead and do the work. But just know that whatever you're working on or what the intention was may not come to a full fruition. And also, if you're making a follow-up appointment during that void moon, it may need to get rescheduled or canceled. Don't not make it, but just be aware. Or you could say, hey, I'm going to reach out to you tomorrow to reschedule our next appointment once the moon is no longer void. If you don't want things to come of your efforts, like if there is a meeting that you're going to schedule that you actually don't want to happen, schedule it during a void moon. It won't happen. It will inevitably fall apart. People won't be able to attend. Something else will come up on your calendar and it just won't work out. That's kind of a fun way to work with a void moon. I know an astrologer that says to file your taxes during a void moon. That way nothing comes of them. There won't be any follow-up from the IRS about your taxes. They'll just take it, process it, file it, and you're done. Don't buy groceries during a void moon. Really try to avoid making purchases unless you know it's something that you're going to use regularly. Like I have certain subscribe and save items that I know I'm going to use every month, like protein powder and gel refills for cycling and litter, cat litter. So those are things that I know I'll use, but I don't try to buy new things during a void of course moon because I probably won't end up using it or it won't work out the way I thought it would and I have to return it. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more how to work with a void moon, because we do have some longer ones happening right now. And if you do have any questions about it, just drop it down in the comments and I will absolutely be very happy to take a look at it for you and try to get you an answer. Okay, let's jump into the week. So on Sunday, May 10th, the moon is void pretty much all day, from 1:09 in the morning until 1:39 p.m. in the afternoon. Then it moves from Aquarius into Pisces. So we've gone from like a nice detached moon that has been working well with the Aries planets and the Gemini planets, and we're moving into a Pisces moon that is going to work well with the Taurus planets, but it's going to adjust and challenge the Aries and Gemini planets over the next couple of days. That's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to adjust. The first aspect that we have on Sunday is the Sun in Taurus semi-sextiles Venus in Gemini. So let's talk about Venus and Gemini before we dive into this aspect. Venus in Gemini is answering to Mercury because Mercury rules Gemini. So when a planet is answering to another planet, that means that, hey, I'm in your sign, but because this is your sign, you're kind of giving me instruction on what to do. What's interesting is that Mercury is in Taurus. So Mercury is actually looking to Venus for instruction on what to do. When that happens, when two planets are in each other's rulership, we call that mutual reception. And with mutual reception, they can swap places if you're consciously working with the energy. So this could look like Venus being chatty and a little, I don't want to say aloof, as it can be the right word for Gemini, but it's not the only word. She's presenting options because Gemini is options, and she is doing it in a very loving and light way. If Mercury were in Gemini, we know it would be very heady and very intelligent, quick-witted, and also somewhat tricky, which Venus can be tricky in Gemini too. So with the Sun in Taurus, the Sun is digging in, growing. It is focused on building structures. A semi-sextile asks us to adjust how we're working. Venus and Gemini is semi-sextile to the Sun in Taurus. So Venus and Gemini is saying, hey, we need to adjust how we're working together and what we're growing because we have new information that has come in. That's all we need to do with this energy today. Listen for the new information coming in. Do it with love. Share that adjustment with love to the Sun in Taurus, who is working on rebuilding structures for you. All right, let's go on to the next aspect, which again is another semi-sextile from Venus and Gemini. So Venus and Gemini semi-sextiles Jupiter in Cancer. So Venus is chatty. She's answering to Mercury in Taurus. Mercury in Taurus has really committed to what Mercury in Taurus is thinking. He is not budging on what he thinks and believes right now. That's okay. That's his job in Taurus. The semi-sextile to Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter is working on expanding what comforts us and what nourishes us. He's helping us expand our home and family environments right now. Venus is saying, hey, I've got some information and we need to adjust how you're building all of that. We need to adjust what you're expanding and how you're bringing your benefit to this area of the chart. So hopefully that helps you. Just be on the lookout for things around home, or if you know the house that your Jupiter area is in, just look for some adjustments there and be open to them. You know, Gemini is a mutable sign. Cancer is a cardinal sign. So they're both flexible. That little Mercury in Taurus that Venus is answering to is is very fixed. Doesn't want to budge, but the nature of this aspect is going to have that Mercury budge. So be flexible with your communication today if you can. All right, on Monday, May 11th, we have a quiet day. The moon in Pisces is sextiling Mercury in Taurus. So the moon is very happy in Pisces. It can dream and drift and kind of just float along with the world. And the sextile is a positive working aspect. Mercury in Taurus is communicating what it is firmly thinking and believing. Pisces represents our dreams. So in this instance, I think that we're looking more at emotional buy-in of what our dream is and being able to communicate that in a grounded way. And to be committed to what you're communicating. Like when you communicate on Monday, make sure that your emotions are bought in to what you're trying to say before you say it. That way it's truly authentic to you. And that's going to be how to work with the energy on Monday. On Tuesday, we have another void moon that's going to be void all day. So it goes void at 6:04 in the morning in Pisces. And it will be void until 8:04 p.m. on Tuesday the 12th. So truly all day. The aspect of which it goes void is the moon in Pisces squares Venus in Gemini. That's not going to be super cozy, but I think you can make it fun. So remember, squares always ask us to make a decision so that we can turn a corner. It's a 90-degree angle. The moon in Taurus is saying, hey, these are the emotions that I'm feeling around this dream and what I think we should do with it. And Venus has been like, hey, I'm bright and, you know, working in Gemini where I don't have to feel things quite so much. The moon wants Venus to feel it. But Venus wants to have fun. Like she's enjoying things. She's trying things on, looking at different options in Gemini. Just play with what do the options feel like. If you understand what you're feeling about options, it can better help you make those decisions. And when you can make decisions, you can turn the corner. So I hope that helps how you can work with the energy on Tuesday, May 12th. All right. On Wednesday, May 13th, Vesta, the asteroid of home and hearth, enters Aries. And she is joining the Aries clump of planets, which includes Pallas Athena, Neptune, Saturn, Mars, Chiron, and Eris. I think that's all of them. So Vesta represents the home and hearth. I think that she is going to be somewhat bouncy in Aries because that's part of what she does is provide fire and warmth. And she is leaving that confusion, dreamy landscape of Pisces where she's going to get really clear about what makes the home and what makes the hearth. What is she providing? who is burning the home fire, and what are we getting done? And I think this is going to be a good placement in Aries to come into these other planets that are all there. Hopefully it will soften the energy some. And I think the best way that you can work with Vesta in Aries is to think about, what do I want to get done around my home? How can I start things in my home that are going to provide value to me and my family, my fur kids, whatever it is that occupies your home with you? Could be your plants. I need to check and see how long she's going to be there. Oh, dang. Okay, so this is happening again. We're gonna have Vesta usually spends, I want to say, like 3 to 4 months in a sign. And if you remember my discussion about Pallas Athena an episode or two ago, Pallas Athena usually spends about 4.5 months in a sign, but she's spending the rest of 2026 and into 2027 in Aries. Vesta is going to be doing something similar. So Vesta enters on May 13th, and she is in Aries and gets up to 27 degrees Aries and turns retrograde on August 25th. And she is retrograde in Aries until November 28th, when she turns direct at 12 degrees. And it looks like she's going to spend part of 2027 in Aries also. So I will follow up on those dates for you. But hopefully we can use that energy to work within our homes. What I would like to caution you of is to be careful about fire risks in your home. It's unfortunate. There's a potter that I follow who is what I think is one of the best North Carolina potters that we have. And her home has been a partial loss to a fire, including her pottery studio. So be cognizant of fire risks around your home, whether that is the landscape that could be subject to a wildfire risk, building yourself a barrier, being mindful of electrical risks like too many plugs in an outlet, and just trying to make sure you turn things off and think about things before you leave them as they are. And hopefully we will make it through this Aries season with Vesta and Pallas Athena there safely. Okay, that's a lot about Vesta and Aries. Let's move on to the next aspect, which is Mercury in Taurus sextiles Jupiter in Cancer. So I like this aspect. I think it's a good one. Mercury in Taurus is answering to Venus in Gemini. So again, they're in mutual reception. So what this looks like, if it's Mercury sextiling Jupiter, is I'm working with you by communicating what we need to do to expand the home and expand the family. Like, I'm telling you what's next. And Jupiter is saying, yep, okay, let's do it. Like, I'm going to make this happen. A way to work with this differently is to have Mercury and Venus swap places. That way Venus is the one sextiling Jupiter in Cancer. And I like that more because instead of Mercury just telling Jupiter what to do, Venus is going to be more collaborative and more like design ideas, which Jupiter is going to answer to really well, because Jupiter doesn't necessarily want to be told what to do. Jupiter wants to brainstorm. That's what Jupiter does. Jupiter is an expander, so it wants to think about things and get excited about it. Together, they can collaborate and work together to create a great idea. Next one we have is the moon in Aries conjuncts Neptune and Saturn. I don't do a ton of moon aspects other than talking about what sign it's in and, when it's going void. But I think this one is important because, we've been working with Neptune and Saturn in Aries now for 2 to 3 months. And we're seeing a lot of things in our lives change and restructure. This is the moon's second or third time coming back around to these planets and saying, okay, where are we at emotionally with this buy-in? How are we emotionally working with this energy so that we can better nurture ourselves and nurture those who are in our lives? So just be cognizant of that on Wednesday. Conjunctions are powerful influences. And you can definitely set the intention of, hey, this is what I've learned over the last 2 to 3 months that I want to bring this flavor in or take this flavor out. And Neptune and Saturn are there to help you structure the dream of whatever it is that you're trying to start and create for this next 30-year cycle. Okay. On Thursday, May 14th, the Sun conjuncts Mercury in Taurus. Or actually, the Mercury conjuncts the Sun in Taurus. And again, a conjunction is a profound influence of one planet on another. So Mercury and the Sun are coming together and they're saying, hey, we have been in Taurus for a minute. We have really committed to our ideas and understand what it is that we want to build. And we're going to use our intelligence to communicate that plan so that way we can shine in a way that honors our stability, it honors our love and relationships. So hopefully this will be a great aspect for you. It can feel intense. It can feel very grounded. I'm always going to encourage you to go outside and do grounding work. Just put your feet on the ground, sit on the ground, lay on the ground to work with this energy, especially if it's feeling difficult for you. All right, next up on Thursday, the moon goes void and we have a long void moon period from 5:33 in the evening until 10:31 p.m. And this is Eastern time. So again, the moon's not working. You shouldn't be either. Most of us on the East Coast will be off work by that point. For those of you who are the Pacific Coast, your afternoon is going to be a little lighter. So maybe don't schedule meetings for that afternoon. And let yourself take it easy a little bit. After that, the moon enters Taurus. And we like a Taurus moon. It means we can eat some really good food. All right. So on Friday, May 15th, the moon in Taurus squares Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Pluto has just started its retrograde journey, and the moon coming along and squaring it says, hey, I know this is what we talked about several days ago when I was in Aquarius with you, but we've got more information. We understand what the emotional buy-in is with that Aries clump, and we need to commit to changing. And the reason why I say commit to changing is because Taurus is a fixed sign. It wants commitment. But the square is asking us to make a change. So it could be small, it could be big. I don't know. You'll find out. It will probably feel uncomfy for our fixed friends. So if you have fixed placements in Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, or Scorpio, this one might be a little difficult for you. That's okay. You can work through this, and adjustments always help us grow into the next version of ourselves. Next up, we have Mercury in Taurus, semi-sextile Venus in Gemini. So Mercury is saying, hey, I committed to this. I talked to the sun yesterday. We are on board. And because of that, you need to change what you're doing. And I'm sure you can imagine that Venus is like, nah, brah. I do what I want in Gemini, thanks. So another way to look at this would be Venus and Taurus, semi-sextile Mercury and Gemini, where she's saying, hey, I'm in my rulership. I'm really strong here in Taurus. I'm committed to this idea. I know you have the strength to communicate this in a way that is effective and intelligent and witty and funny. And Mercury can say, yeah, you just told me all of the things I'm really good at. And because you flattered me, I will support you in communicating what your commitment is in a way that is fun, loving, witty, and, you know, intelligent. Okay, next up we have Saturday, May 16th. And Mercury and Taurus, semi-sextiles, Mars and Aries. Mercury has been so busy this week. So, you know, I like this one because it's right on the tail of Mercury semi-sextiling Venus. So Mercury, Venus, and Mars are what we call the personal planets. They help us kind of make quick actions in our day-to-day lives because they move faster than the other planets. So Mercury and Taurus, semi-sextile Venus, they're talking about the love and commitment and communicating that out to the world. Mercury on Saturday is going back to Mars and saying, hey, this is what we're talking about and we need to let you know so that way you know what you're fighting for. Because Mars in Aries wants to fight. It is, you know, the warrior and the war sign, and he wants to know what he's fighting. Like, he wants to fight. Mercury wants to make sure he knows what he's fighting for. Mercury in Taurus wants to make sure Mars knows what he's committed to. So, we say that Mars is in Aries is ready, fire, aim. This is one of those things. Mars needs to know what he's aiming for, and it's Mercury's job to tell him. And I think Mars will be fine with it. You know, he's happy where he's at. He's got a whole crew behind him. He just kind of needs to be given a little bit of direction around what he is doing. All right. Also on Saturday, May 16th, we have the new moon in Taurus at 4:01 Eastern, 1:01 p.m. Pacific. And I am really looking forward to this new moon. I'm going to do a separate podcast on that one. So stay tuned for that. But you will have an opportunity to do a new moon ritual for your Taurus new moon to focus on what you're growing and what you're committing to, and really understanding how that affects the Venus area of your chart, which is love, money, values, relationships. All of those things are going to be important on this new moon, and you'll have an opportunity to set new intentions for that. We do have a void moon. That's a quick one from 9:02 p.m. to 10:23 p.m. So only an hour and 21 minutes. And it probably won't even make a difference for most of us. Then the moon is going to enter Gemini, where it will be lighter, breezier. It's going to hang out with Uranus and Venus. And, you know, hopefully that will help bring a little bit of levity to the week of adjusting that Mercury has been having. All right, that's all I have for you today. It's a lighter week. Overall, it is a lighter week. We have some good void moons, and I hope that you just take some time, tune into yourself, understand what it is that you're committing to, and consider how you want to communicate that commitment, and be prepared to adjust how you're communicating it. And I think that that's going to help you work through the week a lot easier than not considering your words before you speak. So As always, I wish you great love and joy on this journey to who you are truly becoming. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share with a friend. Thank you so much for your help on this journey. Bye.